We all know now that websites are turning into interactive experiences. So I wanted to build something that was along these lines, very modern and clean. But what I ended up building was this circle UI with headlines and explainers. It's a perfect section to get the user to click through, and it is also responsive. Let's check it out. So here is a sneak peek at this circle UI that I'm talking about. As you can see, it's actually pretty simple. Essentially, it's just an explainer section. So you have different headings and then you have explanations here in the middle. And so the different sections show, it automatically auto rotates through. You also have this SVG path that everything is going around. And then there's this indicator in the middle that follows that and auto rotates. Now it does autoplay. You can also click things and it will automatically change. So as you see, 3, let's say I want to go to 6. As you noticed, when I clicked it right there, right when it changed, it ended up auto playing again. So you can set this interval, and there's some things you can turn on and off. So for example, now that I'm clicked on it, it will not autoplay when we are hovering over it here. So that's just some few things. Let's actually jump in the tutorial and talk about the structure of this and how you can build this too, and you can utilize this. Just to mention, it is responsive as well. So the way that I have it built right now, it actually just goes through the different headings. So it just shows 3 or 4 different headings. Now this was actually per the client who I built this for. This was their suggestion. I would have it actually just show the body text there along with the headline instead of just headline. But let's jump into this. Let's jump over into Elementor so we can talk more through how this actually works. So here we have the Elementor section. I'm going to actually just talk through this structure because I will actually give out the JSON file for this. And I don't want to have you rebuild this, but I am going to explain the structure just so that you guys understand completely how this is built and so how that you can control things in the future yourself. Number one, what we have is a main container. It's called how we work because this is actually a how we work section. And then we just have a heading and text here. Next, we have a main container that houses the whole interactive component. The reason I did this is because stuff is going to be positioned absolute inside of it. And so I just wanted to be able to control that. Inside of that, we have an HTML element. This is where I just have all of the code. So as you see, there's some GSAP, so MotionPath, and then just some JavaScript going on. And I'll explain this later. And then inside of that, I have another container which houses the circle background. Now, this is essentially where all of the content is for all of the headings, all the explainers, the indicator, and so on. And so everything inside of that is essentially absolute positioned. I believe both sides this, oh no, the circle is too. So I believe I made the container match the exact dimensions of the circle itself. So if you were going to use a different element, just know that here on the circle container itself, if you go in advanced and custom CSS, I have a bunch of CSS which is controlling a lot of different things. For example, when something is active, so these get in a class of active. When they're active, the headings do, and so they actually get a font weight that goes a size up. You could make them bigger. I actually turned that off just because it wasn't working. It didn't look very well in my opinion. So I just made it font weight up. So this circle container here, this is actually where all of the content lies. So as you'll see, all the headings are inside of here. All the explainers are in here. Additionally, you have the icon, the indicator, and then we also have the circle. This container itself, the circle container, is actually the dimensions of it are set automatically. And you'll see I have some responsiveness code in here, so min width and max width. Essentially what I did here is set the width of this container to the exact size of the SVG path, the circle in here, just so that I can center that circle perfectly and then have everything else positioned absolute around that, essentially. And as you see, I have title 1, title, they are all stacked on top of each other. So these are just absolute positioned into the middle. And then we have, they're just absolute positioned in the middle. That's essentially it. Then we have all the headings around them. So don't worry too much that it's stacked here. You obviously saw the animation was working. So the back end looks a little bit messier, but you can visually see kind of where stuff will display. And you can turn things on and off if you want to see how it works. Then we have all of the headings, which are absolute positioned around obviously this main container there inside of. So that's another reason I place all of this content inside of a nested container, so that I can control it based on this container and not the main one. So we have a container that perfectly matches the circle, then those headings should be controlled around it. So for example, this heading 2, I probably want to move this over a little bit, so I could maybe make this 230 instead of 300. I'm going to go into heading 3 here and move that over as well. So we have, let's do 120, 130. So we'll make that match. We'll go to heading 4, make that one match a little bit more. 100, let's do 250, 220. Yeah, there. So I already fixed that a little bit, so now these are a little bit closer. The reason that they were different before is I actually had some different headings in there previous to this. So this is overall the structure here. You have an icon, so this needs to be an SVG. So just put an icon widget in. Additionally, this circle needs to have a path displayed in the code, so it needs to be an icon. I may have said this in the intro, but this also needs to be an SVG path. This cannot just be the shape of a circle. I actually just redid the circle shape in Illustrator just as a path, and then this is stroke going around it. So it needs that SVG path for the indicator that we have, and you can change whatever this indicator is. You can make it whatever you want it to be. I do have auto rotate on, so keep in mind that if you change this, you may want to turn auto rotate off, and I'll show you where to do that. So essentially, that's the whole thing. Then you will see I actually have the code. If we go into the responsiveness, if we go into the circle container and go to advanced here, you'll see that I have some code here for tablet and mobile. I should probably call this tablet and mobile positioning. So essentially, these are all stacked on top of each other with absolute positioning as well. And then I have all of the body copy hidden for now. Now, you could just delete this if you want to show all the body copy, and then we'll just make sure that these headings, we could add some more CSS so that the headings on mobile are hidden unless they have the class active. So to do something like that, you would just add this to, so let's say I wanted this, just as an example, we'll do display none. And then if I copied this, gave it a circle bunny heading of active, display in line. So yeah, so essentially, well, we probably want that to be positioned absolute. So essentially, once circle headline 4 gets the class of active, it will display absolutely, and then you'd probably want to mess with the positioning. So you're not seeing it now, just because I put the display none on heading 4, and I'm going to delete both of these. So that's just an example of how you can change the responsiveness yourself. Now, let's talk about what you're going to essentially do once you build this. Is you're going to put an HTML element. I mean, you can put it anywhere on the page. I ended up just putting it in the container that houses all of the content that the circle container is inside of. You could probably, do without this big main container and just have an HTML element and then the circle container. I just wanted more control on the positioning of this smaller container that houses the element. That nested container. Inside this wrapper, I have this HTML element, and essentially what's going on here is you have 2 scripts loading. So we are just loading MotionPath, so that's what allows the indicator to go around this circle path. We have a GSAP library loading, and then we just have MotionPath specifically to allow the indicator to rotate around this circle. As we scroll down, it's just making sure that the DOM content is loaded, and then the MotionPath plugin that we loaded before is loaded. And then here is where we are just showing, or we are making sure that everything is selected. So you want to make sure that these classes align with everything in here. If you upload that JSON file, everything is going to match. But if you wanted to change indicators, or you wanted to change classes For example, instead of calling this a try indicator, I call it a try indicator because it's a triangle. If you wanted to change that, this would be the spot where you just change what that's going to be. Then as we scroll down, you have manual rotation offset. So this is the degree to fine tune the triangle angle. I actually did that because it wasn't exactly on. So if you add a different thing and you want it to be aligned, this allows you to change that. So I have it as 2. You can turn that off if you want. Additionally, this vertical offset, same thing. So it's just nudging whatever element. So in this case, it's the triangle. I nudged it down. Again, just because inside this indicator widget, the icon widget, it just wasn't exactly aligned. So I need to do some more custom aligning. So these 2 elements allow you to basically move it around. So you can rotate it and you can move it up. You could also probably move it left and right. And if you need that, let me know and I can supply that. Then next thing, so this is gonna be major. So if you don't want 6 headlines, this is kind of gonna be the area that you edit this code that I've given you. So you're going to just remove one of these positions. So we have, so as you can see, and if stuff is aligned differently, let's say you have 3 stacked here and you have 3 stacked here really close, like I could change this to 5, and then I could change this to 0.05, I should mean. Yeah, so you can just change these points. So essentially, these are the points where this indicator is going to stop. So you will want to, as you're going through this and as you're editing things, I always preview. I click preview up here in the top right, and then I will look and scroll down to that section to make sure that everything is working perfectly. So again, these points here, this is controlled by 0.25. This is controlled by the next one, which is 0.45. Then as you see, it skips. So let's say I wanted this to be 0.55 instead of 4.5. If I click publish on there, we will see here in the preview, that the indicator is now not aligned with the headline. So those positions just control where that indicator is going to land. So we'll make sure that you have that aligned in the correct spot. Next, you don't need to worry about index. You don't need to worry about current progress positions. Autoplay paused. So I have this as false. So it doesn't pause now on hover, I believe. You could turn that to true if you want that to not pause. If you want that to pause on hover, you can turn this to true if you want this to pause on hover. These are just event listeners to understand where your mouse is. Again, you can mess with the autoplay paused if you want them to work, but the other one should control it. And essentially, this is all of the GSAP, just controlling how long does it take. So this duration is how long that movement takes. And then this is the ease. You could look up easing if you want to change that. So essentially this section here just controls the show and hiding and the duration of how that works. So these body copies, they get the opacity 1. It shows the duration of how long that animation goes. Additionally, same thing here. This is hiding and how long that hiding duration takes. So we kind of have that fade in and fade out at the same time, just as these are moving. It's very smooth. This is where you can change that duration if you want. So if you wanted to fade in slower, you could increase this duration here, or if you wanted to fade out faster, you can decrease this duration to, let's say, 0 or 0.05 as an example. As we scroll down, this is just giving the headlines a class of active. Additionally, the other thing is a class of active. This is just looking for clicks on those headings to move it. And then here is the interval where you can change how fast it plays and pause. So that is a whole explanation of the GSAP code. Again, this is a really fun element. To be honest, what I would do if I was you is I would change how this mobile works potentially. Maybe you'd keep some indicators here and have some headings, or instead of a heading, maybe you change it so that these headlines are hidden on mobile and there's just little indicators around the circle that you could tap on tablet or mobile. That would be really cool. Icons. But this is overall a really fun, unique section that you don't really see much of. So this was a fun build, and I hope that you guys find uses for this on your website. If you do, let me know. Additionally, if you need to host your website at all, we do have an affiliate link with SiteGround. We've hosted hundreds of sites. Client sites have never had a problem with them. Hosting is fantastic, it is fast, their support is amazing. Again, I'm not affiliated with them, but we have an affiliate link in case you want some hosting. They're always running deals like $199 deals, $299 deals. It's crazy. Additionally, go follow me on social media. I will be posting more of these and some more tutorials to come here soon on the YouTube channel. So please subscribe if I have helped you. Thank you.